awareness, self-care, and apparently now a big old thunderstorm happening right as I'm recording. Let's get into it for the week beginning September 10th, 2018.
For the record, I'm done trying to make y'all comfortable. For the record, you ain't trying to grow, then it's done for you. For the record, lab on me going all the way. For the record, ain't trying to link, no time to waste. For the record, for the record, yeah. For the record, yeah. For the record, yeah. For the record, for the record, yeah. For the record. Been a little too nice to y'all. Now I gotta up price on y'all. Snake eyes on dice for y'all. Shoulders on ice for y'all. Frozen. H6 all the hate. I won't get involved today. Got lost in the ball and age. I'm flipping the balls.
Hello everyone, it's Michelle Patterson here with Angel Souls. Thank you so much for joining me this week for this weekly angelic message. Again, for the week beginning September 10th, 2018. We have such an unusual message. I'm just going to give you a heads up. You can't be a wimp and watch these videos, okay? It just is not going to work because they're getting a little straightforward. And you know what? I love that. So let's get into this. Very, very interesting. Self-awareness and self-care. This will be the next steps and what is called upon, what is called upon for you to do now. So this is not encouraging people who, we'll get into it. You know, there are people out there who really love hearing that stuff and they're not using it for the right reasons. You know, they'll, as they get into here, they revel in other people's pain because they've been in such deep pain themselves. They lowered their energy so much that they left themselves very susceptible. We'll get into it a little bit more. I've been debating whether to share kind of what I've been going through, and maybe it would be beneficial to other people to talk about it. We'll see. We'll see if the spirit moves me to talk about it. But this self-care really does talk about not just, oh, I'm going to take a bubble bath, you know, oh, I'm going to meditate. Do those things. Those are good for you. But this is looking at the hard stuff and asking yourself, you know, do I suffer from some sort of personality disorder? Do I have traits of a personality disorder? Do I have some sort of mood disorder? Really start with that self-awareness, really start tracking some of that, okay? This is important. So this is about self-observation, yes? That's how we take this, you know, holistic, and I mean like whole, like all parts of you approach to your wellness. And they're even coming in now and saying, remember all the abundance. The abundance can be money, of course it can be, but abundance can be an abundance of awareness, an abundance of healing, okay? So I feel like that is mostly what we're talking about here with the self-care. Giving yourself room to transform, even if you have to do step by step. So then it just kind of comes in and says, Archangel Gabriel, nurture. There is disorder rampant now with being cruel and careless with children, thinking they do not understand, but they do. Better than those who are grown, okay? So that's something to be very aware of. Do not argue and fight in front of the children. It's that family karma that kind of just keeps cycling and cycling and cycling. And if you come from a long line of abuse, for example, then you need to be the change. You need to be the one to break the cycle. Even if you have to be a pioneer and nobody else in your family has ever done this, you'll have to be the one to make it happen, okay? And be careful with the children. Obviously, there's that message there as well. Keep them safe, and that means mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and physically, yes? No longer can you avoid your traumas. Here we go. No longer can you, okay, I have to explain this because a weird thing started happening. It's like they were talking about one group of people, and then the next sentence they were talking about another group, and then they went back to the first group, and then they talked about another group. So just remember that as you listen to this. No longer can you avoid your traumas. That's one group. Second group. No longer can you fault others for your deeds. Back to the first group. No longer can you lessen yourself and be in victim energy. Back to the second group. No longer can you revel in the pain of others. Here's what, okay? That pattern of abuse, that pattern of traumas. And everybody's lived a trauma. That's the message that they give me. So if you have somebody who says, oh, my childhood was perfect, and people are going to have a really hard time with that, right? And because they're going to say, are you trying to make everybody a victim? No, but we have come through some very messed up times as human beings. So there's no way, I mean, even if you say, oh, I had a great childhood, but you grew up in the 50s, I bet you had drills where you had to hide under your desk in case a bomb dropped on you. You gonna tell me that didn't traumatize you as a little kid? I mean, come on. You know, there's got to be something that you're overlooking about yourself. Now, does this mean go dive into pain and try to make up something? No. Just do the spiritual work, get with a psychologist if you need to, or a doctor, or whatever the case may be, and let things surface. So I think that's the kind of thing that they're talking about, just be in that space of allowing. But also be aware of the people who have gone so low that they are malignant. Now, these might be people that you actually love, but you don't have to put up with abuse, all right? There's so much more that we could talk about with that. What did I write back here? Oh, some journaling on the back here, which is probably private. I'm gonna have to edit that out. Okay, anyway. So I've actually been toying with the idea of maybe collabing with other YouTubers who are psychologists, and maybe we could do like a Google Hangout or something, because we're really getting into this integrated, healthy approach. Yes. And we'll go back and forth. I mean, maybe you'll go into your psychology and you'll kind of do that for a little bit. And then maybe you'll be like, you know what, I just need to get back into nature. I need to get back to the spirituality piece of it. So if you don't feel like you can fully integrate all of that into one, it's fine. It'll happen for you. Okay. But we need to take this bigger approach and to be aware of people. You guys know I talk about this stuff all the time, that cluster B category. Go Google it. You'll see what I'm talking about. This is becoming bigger and bigger and bigger. All right. So, where were we? No longer can you revel in the pain of others. We are aware, and God has a plan. This gets very interesting. Live in your best life. Use all measure to heal yourselves and be aware of the unhealed around you, for they have opened themselves to unseen forces. You cannot save these people, for they are in God's hands. So God has a way of figuring this out. And this isn't, I didn't get the feeling that this was necessarily punishment. It's more like God has to come in and intervene. This is divine intervention for those people. Okay. Now that's an important one. So if you have somebody comes up and they've got a whole story, okay, again, go educate yourselves on how narcissists and sociopaths, how they function, okay? And flying monkeys. Everyone laughs when I say that. That's like, I mean, it is funny, but that's actually what they're called, right? That's the term that's been coined about people who just sort of end up getting brainwashed by the narcissist and end up being their pawns. So I've known plenty of people like that, and those are always the ones that will defend the narcissist, even when you're trying to be healthy and going, something's up here. So go off. YouTube's a great resource for this. Educate yourselves on some of the signs. So they end and say, you cannot save these people, for they are in God's hands. Be kind, be love, spirit in the highest. All right. What else can we say about it? Let's get on to the cards. All right, everybody. If you would like to get a personal reading with me, just go to my website at angelsouls444.com, the services page. You can find some courses, meditations. I will be also, the September 2018 readings are up, but I'm also going to be working on the October 2018 readings, hopefully today, because I'm so on top of things. Enjoy it while it lasts, because I don't know if I'm always going to be on top of things, but we're going to be doing that. And of course, your support on Patreon is always very much appreciated. All the information is down below. If you've been thinking about getting a personal reading, I highly encourage you to get in line. This becomes the busy time of year. Again, I'm still rocking it out. I'm still really on top of things, but when we get towards the end of the year, that's when everybody wants their year ahead, or kind of recapping the year that's already happened and asking for meaning behind certain things. So if you feel like you need that little nudge of insight, yes, because that's the big benefit of an angelic reading over, not that it's better than other types of readings, but one of the benefits of an angelic reading is that they can see things that perhaps you've become numb to. So going into what we were saying with the auto write, if we're talking about self-care, think of these readings as I've always taken that approach. I've always taken the approach that this is more about self-care than predicting your future and basically just sitting here, you're wasting your money so I can tell you what one possible outcome is. will work with your energy, will help you see what you are not seeing so that you can open up and start healing, so that you can have a different perspective, so that you can feel uplifted and really start getting on the path of your best existence. Yes? And when you do that, you're helping the universe, because you're helping putting good energy out into the world. So having said all of that, we're going to get on to the cards. All the cards that I use are listed down below. Ooh. Okay, so we have Croquet. It popped right out of the deck, and it is sexuality, so you can take that any way that you want. But often I find when this card pops out, this talks about the sacral chakra. Yes? So you creating that best life, here we go, right? And working on getting the awareness of things that you need to work on. But this is also healing the emotional body, which oddly is kind of what that whole auto write was all about. Like, it's time for us to heal ourselves. And it's not enough to just sit in a meditation and, to go through the motions. You actually have to let the realizations sink in. So that sacral chakra is also the flow of money. It's your creativity. It's how you connect. Obviously, if you're trying to get pregnant, these are all things where it's saying, okay, bring the focus into that area. What place do you have in this life? What place do you have on this planet? I know that people like to engage in a lot of magical thinking and trying to take their lives and twist it up into a nice, neat little story. You could live like that, but I guarantee you're going to have to come back and do it all over again. You cannot be in denial and think that you're healed. I've learned that lesson in a big way, right? My whole life is spirituality and, self-care, and, I'm always exploring new ways to open my energy to, be literally my contribution in this world to be a good energetic force, right? So if I'm walking around in pain, that might trigger someone else's pain. If I'm walking around in defense mode, thinking that the world's always going to, someone's going to harm me or someone's going to get me, then that's going to trigger something in someone else. So it's no more messing around. Yeah. So work on that sacral chakra this week. You might even have some of that money flowing to you. And if you're healed, you won't mind if people see you. And if people see you, there could be opportunities. There could be love coming in for you. There could be, actually, they were talking about traumas. It's time to heal your traumas. So maybe it's sexual trauma that you have to work on. Yes? And that can get, I know, that can get hard. That can get very, very, very uncomfortable. I have to say this again. Please do not be afraid to reach out and get some therapy, but take your power back when you're with a therapist. I have historically had two very, very, very bad therapists. One wouldn't show up for the appointments. And then when I tried to confront her about it and ask her what was up, she said, I have to, I'm trying to study to be a yoga instructor and I have to take time for myself. And I'm like, okay, well, since you showed up for half the session, how about I pay you half? Oh, no. She wanted full pay for half the work. And then the other one, that was from years ago. God, over like a decade ago, she has no business practicing. She actually, I think, was one of those dark souls who, she didn't have a good track record, let's just say. All right, so then we have Herkimer Diamond Dreams. So if you want your dreams to come true, you have to really have a sense of identity. You have to have a sense of who you are. And a lot of people who, gravitate to this sort of information, you might be here because you want someone to fuel your magical thinking. You want someone to fuel and make you feel coddled and make you feel like, oh, I have all these cool little things going on in my life, these little synchronicities. That means magic is at play in my life. And I'm not saying that it can't be, that, spirit isn't working through you. Of course, spirit is. But some of us are chasing dreams that don't actually apply to us, right? Again, I said I would share a little bit. Maybe I'll do a whole video on this, but I remember as a kid, I was told what I was going to like. I was told what my favorite color was. There's not like my parents, but there was a family member who just came up, who I loved and adored, came up and said, your favorite color is purple. And I was like, is it? Is it? Who told, what? I'm sorry, what? So that's how, like, sort of, dysregulated I was, that people had to come in and tell me, and I've lived my life quite like that, actually, through relationships. So how do you define yourself? Do you really know who you are? Do you feel safe to like what you like? So that's part of, we always talk about authenticity. So that's part of that authenticity coming out and being born. So this dreams card does come up, I think, well, first of all, Herkimer diamond intensifies any other crystal that you are working with. And it's weird that that came up because I've been working with that with the Moldavite. But your dreams are going to morph and change. This could be something like, maybe your big dream is to be famous. I actually had somebody come to me and said, I just want to know how to be famous. We're not going to, we're going to look at why you need to be famous. We're going to look at that. Okay. I've had people come to me and maybe, well, let's make it generic here. So let's say you want to be an actor. Yes. And your big dream is to get out there and to be on the big screen and all this stuff. And you have to really take some time with that. Why do you want to be an actor? Do you like bringing stories to life, or do you need an identity? This gets into a little borderline personality disorder stuff. Okay, again, I'm not a licensed professional. Please consult somebody who has studied this and gone through the numerous tests that you have to be a therapist. But, they're looking for, some are looking for an identity. If they really want to be famous, it's because either they need to be fueled in that way, they need that validation. I don't want to throw the N-word around narcissism, right? I know everyone's probably like, God, she talks about this all the time, but it's getting so in our faces that I think we have to talk about it. So it could be that, or it could be just a need for love, whatever the case may be, whatever the deal is there. Your dreams are telling you a lot about who you are. Everybody, I think, dreams of having some sort of real contribution in this world and to be successful. And I'm one of those people. But it's only been recently when I'm like, you know what? Why am I ashamed? I do kind of like, you guys know that magazine Real Simple? That's kind of me. Like that's my style. And I know that I've always been kind of afraid to go into that. I don't want a huge mansion. I want a home. I'm kind of attracted to very, very white interiors with the reflection, the light, the sunlight coming in. I love that. But I would see how people would respond to that, and I'd be like, oh, am I like a dork because I like that? Oh, maybe I need to be edgier and more interesting because that's so, it's so bland. It's so vanilla. Guess what, honey? Vanilla is one of the best things on this planet, okay? So there's nothing wrong with it, whatever. So that's what we're talking about when this dreams card comes up. If you're going to put your intensity behind something, you're going to put your energy behind something, make sure it's something you actually want and not something that you've always been told that you want, and really question what your motives are, okay? It's going to be very eye-opening for you. The next card we have is Agate, healthy body. Also very interesting. Do what you got to do to listen to your body. I know, again, I've been all over all kinds of different diets and none of them have worked. And, this is a time where you have to get real with yourself. Even if this means maybe you get with a nutritionist, maybe you do get with a trainer, make sure you're careful with what nutritionists and what trainers you get with, because again, I got stories, but be careful with this. But pay attention to your bodies this week. Give yourself rest when you need rest, okay? And let it be a week about inspired action, okay? All right. So the final card we have here, oh, I just pushed my hair back. Just happened, okay? The final card we have here is Emerald, compassion. This is having compassion for yourself and being aware of those who do not have compassion. Yes? I gave you guys an example. This is a long time ago, so maybe I can give it to you again. I knew this person who I thought was going to be a friend. This person ended up being a covert narcissist. One of the things that, there were several sort of red flags, but one of the things was that she had pretend compassion about things. Like if she would hear about a story, before anybody even got it out, you could see in her face that she sort of triggered, here comes a sad story, and she started going, oh, and she's not even listening. She's just making these weird noises at me. Like, uncomfortable, okay? Just as an aside, uncomfortable. But there was another incident where she was telling me, this, I'm not going to share it too much, but this horrible thing happened to this poor child, and she was more concerned about how it was affecting her. And I was like, well, Rebecca, is the kid okay? How are you going to tell a story like that and not let me know if the kid is okay or not? Are you out of your mind? That's what I was thinking in my head. And she looked at me when I asked her about the child and said, is the kid okay? And she goes, I don't know. I didn't ask if he was okay. I'm talking about how this is going to really take a toll on my work. Oh, and then there were other things after that. And that's when I was like, this is the person that ended up working behind my back and stealing business ideas. So I share that with you, and I want you to take it in. Yes? So be aware, not only are you being the most compassionate person that you can be, are you acting out of defensiveness? If somebody acts a certain way, and historically people like that have maybe bullied you, for example. I went through this. I didn't like people who were workout fanatics because I'd been bullied by them. You're too fat. You're disgusting. You're this, you're that. Trying to put that identity on me, that I'm fat and lazy. And what they didn't realize was that every pound on my body that's in excess was absolutely attached to a trauma that I was still in the process of working through. And they were, in their judgment and in their perhaps ignorance, they were re-injuring me. And because I would hear that and I would fall again. And, so I historically did not like those people. It's only just recently, talking about healthy body, that I'm starting to realize, okay, not everybody's like that, right? And I can get help, and I can get somebody who knows what they're talking about, who is compassionate, yes? And they're not just going to judge. So this is a big week to be testing. Where am I at on that compassion scale? Do I need to work on that? And I got to put this out there too. You guys got to work on that magical thinking. If that upsets you and you don't want to be here, where's my cards? Okay. I was confused. That's okay. But for the rest of you, go ahead and feel free to use this channel as an illustration of what I'm talking about. You will see the very unhealthy people, as soon as you start talking real talk, as soon as you start trying to pull them out of this clouded thinking, and people are like, how dare you say clouded thinking? My thinking is very clear. I don't want, really, some people, they just don't want to be reminded of the traumas. They don't want to work through it. And I gotcha. But they'll leave nasty comments. How dare you say such things? I'm unsubscribing. Every time someone does that, they leave room for 70 other people to come in. So that doesn't bother me. That I've seen firsthand. But then you'll have the people who, as we said, they've been hurt so much in their lives that they've gone into that malignancy. You'll see them flare up, and you'll see them, start to really leave nasty comments like, this woman's crazy. She belongs in a padded room. It's all that diminishment tactic because it's stirring something in them. So they have to go after someone else. Does that make sense? Again, check with some of the experts out there. They put it so well, and very important for you to be aware of that. All right, so we could go on and on and on, but we will not. Let's just get the color card going for this week. That's good. Let's see what it is. Ba-ba. Oh, I had it upside down the whole time. Whoops. Anyway, it's white. Lighten up. The number is 24. So this does talk about lightening your energy, lightening your load. Yes? I cannot tell you how freeing it is every time. And you may not completely heal all your traumas or all whatever's going on in your life. You may not get to it all at once. You might do some of it now. See, back when I was in my 20s, I thought I had already worked through my trauma because I was aware of it. But nothing could have been further from the truth. I had to grow and mature and learn my lessons. And now I'm hitting this next big push of transformation. So let your troubles go. That doesn't mean forget about it, pretend like it didn't happen, diminish it. I'm not saying that. I'm saying look at it and go, okay, you're here, you need my attention. What do I need to learn from this? I'm not encouraging people to try to be like, oh, I pieced it together in my head and now now I'm over it. Your soul will let you know when you're over it, all right? But we need to start lightening our energy by facing facts, by looking at what has happened, by not escaping it, okay, or trying to run from it. We need to be true to ourselves now. It's all about the self-care. So there it is. We're going to leave it there, guys. I'm sending you so much love, and please make sure that you remember that you are lovable, you are worthy, and love yourselves.
Off record, I still count wins when they doubt it. On record, off record, I let them take advantage. I was wildin'. On record, off record deals. Tell them talk to Colin for the quote. On record, off record, I still want the act, not the ghost. Running through it with the young influence, adolescent presence, also coming to it. I've been giving yeses when I shouldn't do it. I complete ejected, but the moves elusive, and I'm barely moving, but I'm still gon' boost them. I can't work on winnings when I know you're losing, so I work the winners and they throw the deuces. Guess I have to pivot, shooting the bazookas for the facts. I need racks, paper, cash, buck a tax. That's a joke. Tell them laugh. Uncle Sam, fuck out the bag. Brody plot, we'll get a whack. Contract, give me the max. I got lab on my back. You ain't that, then it's raps.
Whoa, 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 whoa. For the record, I'm done trying to make y'all comfortable. For the record, you ain't trying to grow, then it's done for you. For the record, lab on me going all the way. For the record, ain't trying to link, no time to waste. For the record, for the record, yeah. For the record.